Welcome to the Brick and Butter Zone. I'm your host, Case Erickson, here to talk to restaurateurs who reveal their secret recipes for success. You will be encouraged, equipped, and inspired to take your business to the next level. It's like butter, baby. Butter! So buckle up and get in the zone. All right, thank you for tuning in. This is the Brick and Butter Zone with your host, Case Erickson, and I have an amazing, awesome, special guest here with me today. It is Jae Kim. He's the founder of Chi'lantro, one of Austin's pioneers, food truck pioneers, blasted onto the scene in the early days and has just exploded with growth and potential and all things amazingness and awesome, and has recently was featured on Shark Tank and got a deal, and we are so excited to see where their business is going to go next. We're going to hear a little bit about where he's come from, what his intention is, what his passion is, what his drive is, and really hear what's next in his business. And I'm super, super honored that he took time out of his schedule to share his story. And Jae, thank you so much for taking the time to be here, and I'm just really excited to speak with you. And I know a lot of people look up to you and really want to hear your story. So thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Thank you, Case, and I'm also a fan of whatever you're doing here in Austin, Texas. So thank you so much for having me and allowing me to share my story on Shark Tank and also how I started my business. So thanks for having me again.
Yeah, for sure. So give me a quick little rundown, elevator pitch story on when you opened. I know you were one of the pioneers here early in Austin. So really kind of what drove you, what you were doing before you had the food truck, when that was, why you decided to open a food truck, and then kind of what made the transition from truck to brick and mortar.
Yeah, so I started a food truck in 2010 February. I started writing my business plan in December of 2009, and that was because, I've always wanted to start a restaurant, but I didn't have the capital or an investor to believe in my concept. So, I really pulled in whatever I had from my savings account, and by maxing out my credit card, I decided to open up a food truck. Actually, I leased the food truck, and I just had enough funds for 6 months to survive. And that was really the start of Chi'lantro.
Wow, so I'm like, that's pretty ballsy there, my friend. I mean, maxing out, spending all your money, maxing out the credit, and you got 6 months to make this fly?
Yeah, I mean that's how much money I had. So, by saving, by just continuing to maxing out my credit card and paying back, I just didn't have the capital to survive. So I was just betting everything on myself. So I leased out a food truck. I got the wrap. I made a business plan and started cooking on the food truck. I hired one staff named Julia, and she's still with me today after 6.5 years later. But that's just how I started the food truck business in 2010. And not a lot of people were doing this, and you're right. So when I was going to business parks to downtown Austin, they were relatively cheap. I was paying, I think, $500 a month in downtown, and that's not the case today anymore. But and it was kind of like a wild west, I think, for when I started. Not everybody knew what I was doing, so when I would show up to business parks with my food truck, people didn't understand what I was doing. They didn't understand the cuisine that I was serving. So I mean, that's just kind of how I started.
Wow, that's awesome. And I want to touch on one thing because I've heard some, I don't want to call it criticism, but maybe some negative energy around some of the food truck owners now who it's like the market is inundated. There's definitely way more competition now in 2016 than there was when you entered the market. And
some people might think like, oh, well, it was easier back then because there wasn't all this ... But what I really want to hit on and key in your story was you banking on yourself. And, at the end of the day, I don't care what the market looks like, like how many other people you're competing against. If you have the resolve that you have burned the bridges and you're betting on yourself, then it doesn't matter, and that's why you see restaurants having success and food trucks having success no matter what the market. And so if anybody's listening and hears like, oh, well, it was easy for you because you didn't have any competition, I wanted to put that bug in their ear, and it wasn't that the market was, that played a role in how you executed your business plan and your strategy, sure, but really what fueled your success was, from my perspective at least, was that banking on yourself. So kudos to you for that as well, for sure.
Yeah, well, thank you. There are, every entrepreneurs or foodtrepreneurs or food truck operators have different stories. So, and you run into different challenges. For me, I worked 15, 18, 20-hour days just to learn about it, just to keep up. And I told myself that I would not regret even if I failed. So that was like the mentality behind running a food truck business. Running a food truck business is extremely difficult. It's raining outside here today, and on a days like this, we all know that the business is not going to be good. Or during hot seasons or cold weathers, we have all these challenges that we run into. So, running a food truck business is not easy, and it takes a special type of, I think, character to run it. But you're right that, if I worked hard to be where I'm at today, and I continue to work hard. So, and there's no failure. There are only challenges that comes with it, and you learn from every opportunity. So that's how I was able to grow my business.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so when did you go to, because I know when I came to Austin, it was around 2013, and I believe you were at two or three trucks, but I'm not positive on that number, and you had yet to go to brick and mortar. So was your strategy always to get multiple trucks and then brick and mortar, or how did you make that growth?
It's we've always had, as a Chi'lantro, as a group of people that really started with me from day one, we've always wanted to go to a restaurant. But we also set goals to ourselves that we want to be the best in Austin, Texas market. So when you have people like that are wanting to be the best in the company, it really helps you tremendously in terms of growing your business. And I think I had the right people in place. I was fortunate to have good people around me that really wanted to grow Chi'lantro. And some cases they wanted to expand the food trucks. They wanted to grow our food truck business so that we can be the best in here in Austin market. And we did anything possible to get our brand out there. So I think it was the people that kind of pushed us to grow our food trucks. And you're right. At one point, we had 5 food trucks here in Austin and Houston. So we were pretty fortunate, but it required really hard work and good people around us in order for us to execute and provide consistency in food, service, and just overall experience for our customers.
Yeah, and so what led to how did the first brick and mortar thing come into existence for you?
Yeah, so I built a good relationship in Austin, and I see myself being in the food industry for the long term, and I called Austin, Texas my home. So I maintain good relationships with people here, and I strive myself to do that continuously. But it was a little bit of luck, because I reached out to people for mentorships and try to build relationships with restaurateurs and food truck owners here in town. And I was fortunate to learn about a restaurant that was closing, and they really gave me an opportunity to take over. And usually, brand new first generation restaurant would cost around $400,000 to $600,000 for restaurant type like mine at a 15 to 2,000 square foot. But because it was a second generation restaurant, I was able to go in with a significant, the money that I borrowed. As I got an SBA loan, and I was able to pay low price to start my first brick and mortar business.
That's awesome. And yeah, I definitely, and for people who are outside the Austin market who might be listening, just, it is very competitive. And so I know with, one deal that I'm working right now is, the restaurant was for sale. It didn't even come on the market. So kind of like where you were saying, somebody who wants to open their own restaurant, if there's a decent location, it's kind of like you have to get in, like if another restaurant's going out of business, or it's not on the market, because the ones on the market that are kind of sitting there that aren't in great locations, or it's not a location that would fit your concept, or the landlord wants too much, or it's it's first generation. Or I definitely understand that whole journey. Opening my first restaurant was a second generation, was an ice cream shop that we turned into like a wings and burger place. And a second store, our second store was a Mexican concept that we had converted as well. And then it wasn't until our third store that we had a totally blank slate to do whatever we wanted. And by that time, the landlords, we had established our name and our brand, and the landlords were much more willing to concede and help us in improving the property. So, but I think that one thing that jumped out at me, and two things that you said, were your, commitment to your relationships in Austin, and your commitment to no regret in failure. Like you were okay. It was almost like you were okay with failing, and you knew that even if you failed, you wouldn't have regrets. And so, I think that combined with, your commitment to your reputation and the relationships that you had is really, really crucial to these opportunities that quote unquote fall in your lap, and I'm a believer that we make our own luck. So we can use terms like good luck, but I think it all stems from this magical universal place embedded in these seeds of what you're talking about like being okay with failure and not being afraid to fail and not being attached to, success and having to have success. Like in that space is where the magical things open up, where you find, and then combined with your commitment to relationships and your reputation, like when those two things are combined, it's like doors just open up, and you hear about restaurants going out, and you hear about these amazing deals. Oh, I can get in a deal for $100,000, and then I can get an SBA loan, and then instead of spending $600,000, then da 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 da. And it's really not a lot. I mean, it's really dedication, persistence, and attitude. So I love that you shared that, because it's a really good nugget that I want whoever's listening to pull out, and just to acknowledge you for that, because that's awesome. That's really great to hear that's how that, what you're committed to, and the doors that opened up because of that. So tell us really quick. Tell me really quick about Shark Tank, because I know we're Facebook friends, and I didn't know that was your third time trying out, that that you finally got on. So tell me about that process.
Yeah, so it's I've attempted to get on Shark Tank 3 times, and maybe the third time's a charm, but I tried it almost every other year, trying to get onto Shark Tank, because I believed in the strategic partnerships with the sharks, and any of the sharks would have been fine. But the first year I thought, well, we have a great chance. We're a food truck concept. We were in need of desperation for money. So, that's how we applied. And as we were applying, we had a great story, because each year that we would reach back out to them, and they would contact us, and like I was able to tell them, it's like, this is how we grew, and this is how we grew organically, and now we have a restaurant. Like, now we have a fleet of food trucks. And they were really amazed by the story behind what we were doing, and they said, well, come out and try it again. So, we filmed Shark Tank in June, and I just couldn't say anything for months until it really finally came out. Yeah, so it's really a once in a lifetime experience. I got on the show. It's about an hour long taping, and in front of the sharks, and it's really raw because, like, they don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And I have no idea how it's going to go, because the questions that they're asking me are just, it's not scripted. It's like, literally, they're asking me questions based on what, how I'm responding to, or what I am saying to them about Chi'lantro. So, when the film started taping, when I got out of it, like, I had no idea what I said afterwards, and I didn't even know how they were going to edit it. So seeing, the filming, which I appeared on Shark Tank a few weeks ago, and that was the first time me seeing the show too, so I was really nervous, but it was great that, I got a deal from Barbara.
Yeah. So tell what's next, or what were you allowed to say, or what? I know you've got a few locations now, but what's the plan? Have you kind of fleshed that out, or what's the story?
Yeah. So we are continuing to work out. It's for me, I see Chi'lantro as a long-term growth. I think we have a really unique and cool brand today here in Austin. We want to continue to provide great service, great food, and an environment for our Austin customers, which means that, I have to continue to build structure and programs around it while maintaining a great culture to really make it a scalable model. So then we can go outside of Austin, outside of, maybe United States someday, but we're concentrating on getting better at what we're doing today. So I think that's the next step. But you're right, we have a plan to open a brand new restaurant on Riverside at South Shore District in January. And we also have plans to open up one more in 2017. So we'll see how that goes.
That's awesome, and I really love too about your story, and you tie it to your family, and really having that, I think, is another essential thing. Tell me about that part of the passion and that what drives you there.
Yeah, so I grew up in a single family household. I have a sister who's disabled. So growing up, I had a lot of challenges. With those challenges, but I didn't want to put myself in a victimized situation where I regret what I haven't done in life. I turned that into a positive thing for me, where I told myself, like, I want to be able to run my business and have the time to take care of my family and support my family, where also my family can be proud of me. So that was a really driving factor in motivation and giving everything that I got in order to see where that goes, because that really made me who I am. Having a single mom who went to work, and I don't want to be doing that. I don't want my mom to be doing that, or my sister to have a life where she's not comfortable financially. So those are driving factors that I have to take care of my family and myself and my team that I have today.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I think that I think that's why you have such a community. I mean, that's why I support. I'm so happy I share in your happiness and your success, and I see, your the Chi'lantro support community and your customers, as well as, your friends and families. And and that's one also thing that I love about Austin in general. It's just like, we just really kind of come together and we celebrate each other's success. And when we see a good person succeeding and succeeding for the right reasons and, overcoming those challenges and staying aligned with, a sincere and good purpose, we're just like, oh my God, and I just know whenever you did that thing on Shark Tank, everyone's like, oh my gosh, you deserve it. Oh, you deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve it. And I just think that's really great to witness and be a part of. And it's super exciting to have seen your growth so far, to be in Austin for as long as I've been in, and to see all the things that are happening, and super, super excited to see what's next. So, I mean, I can't wish you any more success than I can potentially handle. So, it's just really great to see, and I'm just really, really happy for you, and you're an amazing business owner and entrepreneur, and just a really good person. So I just really thank you for the example that you set. You set for me, and you set for other people in the community, and you got a really great head on your shoulders, and I just really, really thank you for being who you are, my friend.
Thank you, Case. I really appreciate your support and all the food trailer and food truck scenes. I honestly believe that when you start, like, you don't get so much PR support. You just don't have the money to spend, your resources, financial resources on PR, right? So, I mean, the best thing is really like people like yourselves where, you take the time to write about us and reach out to other people for us, and just kind of connecting us with like the right people and right resources and getting us out in the media. So I will never forget that. So thanks so much, Case. I really appreciate your support as well.
Yeah, man. So we got, it's my pleasure, and we're all on this road together. Some of us are putting down the pavement. Some of us are painting the lines. Some of us are creating exit lanes. Some of us are creating on-ramps, but I think we're all on different parts of the road, and I'm just excited to play a part whatever I can, because, I've got some good nuggets from this call. Bank on yourself, have no regrets and failures, focus on relationships, stay out of victim mentality. Don't look at where you came from, look at where you're going to. And I mean, I think that alone is worth, is priceless information for anyone who's listening, who's feeling like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this, to just, you focus on these things and shit starts moving around, and we make it work. Right. So, yeah, I really appreciate what you're up to, and I cannot wait to see what's next.
Thank you so much, Case.
Yeah, you too. And you take it easy, my friend, and until next time.
All right, until next time. I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you for listening in to this week's episode of the Brick and Butter Zone. If you haven't already, go on over to brickandbutter.com, download your free mindset reset affirmations, and most importantly, feed your face, spread the love, and stay in the zone.